taking a closer look at the plan to change the nation's most well-known college entrance exam, the SAT. Now, the College Board wants to update the test for the first time in almost 10 years. The new SAT will return to a 1,600-point scale. The essay will become optional. Fancy vocabulary words like sagacious and membranous will be replaced by words commonly used in college like synthesis and empirical. Calculators will only be allowed on part of the math section instead of all of it. So joining us to talk a little bit about this is Robert Franick, Senior Vice President and Publisher of the Princeton Review. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here again.
You say SAT and people feel dread, whether they have to write it or they remember what it was like when they did write it. It makes them nervous.
It totally makes students nervous. Yeah. And when we start to think about it, there's reason around that. The SAT is such a high-stakes test, and we've been talking about it and teaching the SAT at the Princeton Review for so long, simply because over 2/3 of the four-year colleges in the U.S. alone use the SAT for academic admission along with GPA, and many of those schools will look at the SAT and ACT scores along with GPA for financial aid and scholarship dollars as well.
It's important. So let's look at the changes. What do you think of them?
Well, the changes that were released today by the College Board simply said, although you sort of enumerated those things as well, that the SAT should be linked more with college success. And we've long been a critic of the SAT specifically at the Princeton Review because the SAT, as we heard today, is not a predictor of success in college. What is much more of a predictor is how well you did in high school. But as we were saying, so many colleges and universities are relying on that SAT and the ACT as a metric for how well a student can actually do. So creating a better test is actually going to produce better results.
Right. And so, you know, it's been 5 years, or 10 years rather.
10 years, yeah.
Why now?
I think a couple of reasons. One, the ACT, which in years past was known as, you know, sort of a great standardized test, but only for universities and colleges in the great middle of the country. And the SAT and ACT, pardon me, the SAT were tests that a student would take if they were applying to the schools on the left and right-hand side of the coast. But the truth is that any school will take either the SAT or the ACT. Just 5 years ago, the number of test takers for the ACT was about 750,000 students. Right now, it's over 1.6 million students taking the ACT. For the 2 years in a row, the ACT has trumped the SAT in the number of test takers.
So let's talk about the difference between those two tests and why that would occur.
A couple of reasons. ACT, for many students, is much more like a high school exam. The instructions are straightforward. It tests on substantive issues that a student might have learned in the classroom. They might look and feel like a high school exam. One of the critical things that we've been critical about in the SAT from the Princeton Review perspective is that it's a difficult exam. The instructions are less straightforward. It's a little tricky. There are certainly strategies around that, and it's completely coachable, both the SAT and the ACT. But the SAT is less like a high school exam.
So the College Board is also linking up with the Khan Academy, which is a not-for-profit website that offers lessons on everything under the sun. Maybe also now providing prep courses for the SAT. Good thing, they'll be free.
I think any access to good information is always the right thing. Funny enough, Mr. Khan is an old Princeton Review teacher, and we've been providing access to so much information for the SAT and the ACT for a number of years at Princeton Review. We're going to continue that trend from free courses to books to online courses and so on.
So the options are out there if you want them.
You have it exactly.
Robert Franick, Senior Vice President and Publisher of the Princeton Review.